Before America broke away and formed today's United States, we were under the British rule. The reason we eventually broke away is because we were being taxed unfairly and they refused to let America have any representatives. So we broke away to make our own government.
The government that we created is called the Article of Confederation. It didn't work because it didn't give Congress enough power, which caused the states to go crazy.
So in conclusion, in order to have a healthy working government, we need checks and balances, judicial review, limited government, separation of powers, popular sovereignty, and federalism. This will be expounded on in later episodes.
Popular sovereignty is when the people rule over the government. We're not necessarily controlling them, we're just telling them what we want and they're supposed to listen. We give our consent to be governed by representatives we vote for.
See, popular would stand for population, or the people.
And sovereignty means rule, or power. So basically, popular sovereignty means the people rule. And without its rights and liberties, citizens are not fully protected by national or international standards.
The government was gaining too much power, and so the framers had to include 6 principles to the Constitution to make sure the people are listened to.
With popular sovereignty, the people are able to vote people in and out of office. We can put our input on laws and policies, and the government will change them.
An example of popular sovereignty is when we vote for president. They listen to the people when deciding who to put in office.
Judicial review. Judicial review is the power of the Supreme Court to review actions taken by the other branches and decide whether those actions are legal under the Constitution.
Why did the framers include it?
Judicial review is needed because it allows laws that violate the rights and liberties protected by the Constitution to be revised and expanded upon without a full act of legislation. This lets constitutional interpretation change as society changes.
Here's an example from 1898. A black man by the name of Plessy got into a white train car, but he wasn't allowed because of segregation, so he took it to the Supreme Court. They didn't rule in his favor because it didn't violate the law. Here's an example of how this changed. In 1954, in the Brown versus the Board of Education case, the court established that segregation in schools was unconstitutional.
Limited government. Limited government is where governmental power is restricted by law and or people. People that framed the Constitution included limited government because framers wanted to create a nation where it was a balance of power. In fact, it preserved the government from having too much power and made sure people had a voice. For example, a cop car pulls me over on the side of the road and tells me to get out of my car. I put my hands behind my back. He later goes into my personal belongings, takes them out, and puts them in his cop car without telling me anything. Finally, he walks me over to his car and puts me inside. Therefore, my rights were violated because the government is limited and does not have that power.
Separation of powers. Framers included this principle in the Constitution to ensure that the central government will have enough power, but not too much. Separating the powers into branches prevents this by dividing up the power and distributing it evenly among the 3 branches of government. Each branch has their own responsibility and place in society. The legislative branch makes laws. They are divided into 2 houses, which consist of representatives elected by the people. The executive branch consists of the president and 15 departments. They enforce the laws. The judicial branch is made up of the Supreme Court and its smaller courts. They interpret the law.
Federalism is where the power and responsibility of our government is shared between the national and state government. The framers added this to the Constitution for an equilibrium between the national and state government to avoid situations like the Articles of Confederation. The government could not pay its debt, and America lost standing with other nations. The legislature created by the Articles of Confederation gave equal power to large and small states. The national government is based on the Constitution, while everything else they want, as long as it doesn't interfere with the Constitution, is given to the state government.
The national government has power to do things like declare war, establish foreign policies, and make money.
The state government has power to establish local governments, provide public safety, and regulate trade within states.
While national and state governments have separate responsibilities, also they share powers like raising taxes, building roads, providing public welfare, and criminal justice.
That's all, folks.
Checks and balances are when each branch limits the power of other branches of government. Each branch has specific powers that can stop the actions of other branches. Branches must work together to lower the risk of power being abused. The point of doing this is so there is not too much power in one place to create a monarchy. Framers just got a monarchy, so power won't be abused. Also, if one branch makes a mistake, another branch can balance it out. For example, the president may veto a law pushed by the Congress, and it can be overridden with that veto with a vote of 2/3 of both houses. Also, if the law is unconstitutional, the Supreme Court can take over and say it is not allowed. In conclusion, each branch of government was given the ability to check the power of the other two branches of government. That is why framers include checks and balances in the Constitution.